Let me begin by saying that the multilateral system, as reflected in the United Nations...
Please bring the mic a bit closer.
Yeah. The United Nations was built primarily to prevent great war between the great powers. That's not all it was supposed to do, but this was its primary reason. And for that reason, it needed to have the great powers of the day to stay around the table and to be assured that the United Nations as a political construct would not be used against their vital interests as they saw them. The price of keeping them at the table was to give them the veto. And because of that ability to veto what the rest of the organization thinks or wants to do, and what all countries want or may want to do, it then assures that the permanent members will stay, and then posits that there'll be a possible diplomatic solution from that. In many ways, since we have not had a world war since 1945, you can say that the United Nations arrangement in its most basic terms has succeeded. But it has failed its promise to stop wars elsewhere. And often the veto power has been used to shield the allies and fellow travelers of the great powers when they're committing atrocities. The Security Council has been used as a platform to launch attacks against the very interests of Africa, for instance, the NATO attack on Libya. So what does Africa do in terms of this multilateralism that we belong to? One of the most ironic things about being an African diplomat in the UN is that you're often defending the very system that you're marginalized in. I find that all the time so strange. And I myself have been one of the more ferocious defenders of that system, even while understanding the inequities and marginalizations of my own continent from them. What it means is that the expectation of Security Council reform as a form of favor or an act of inclusion is naive. You do not get included in the permanent ranks of the Security Council to be a substantive member who can wield the veto just because. You have to generate your own form of power and independence so that you sit at that table as an equal. As I like to provoke, you can go to the Security Council permanent membership like a proud peacock, but you may emerge like a plucked chicken. Because the Security Council veto and permanent membership is only one dimension of national power that is arrayed against other intelligence, security, economic, and political powers. So the question for Africa when it comes to multilateralism is to go beyond the demand for inclusion and look inward and talk about the demand for leverage. What is it that allows Africa the leverage to sit in the permanent ranks? What is it that allows Africa to demand a seat at the table and to get it, not because we've been left out, but because of our leverage?